Welcome to My Money Mindset podcast, where we explore how a healthy mindset is the foundation for financial success. Each week, we delve into mindset hacks and practical strategies to help you enhance your income, help you make more appropriate investments for yourself, and to improve your overall financial well-being. Join us on this journey to transform your financial future by transforming your mindset. Please note that the information provided on this podcast is for general information purposes only and does not constitute as personal, financial or health advice. It has been prepared without considering your individual objectives, financial situation or life needs. Before making any financial or health decisions, you should consult with a qualified professional or financial advisor to ensure the information aligns with your specific circumstances. So let's begin and enjoy this journey as each episode teaches us on how to improve our overall mindset that it overall improves our financial success. Hey everyone, in this episode I'm going to do a Q&A. I've got a few questions to be answered and I thought what better to do it on an episode. The first Q&A that I've got is Jennifer, that's asking simply, hi Mark, thank you very much for all the information. Love your podcast. Are you able to tell me or advise what's the best time to buy an investment? I have my own owner-occupied property here that I owe $400 on. Fantastic, well done Jennifer. And it's probably worth around $1 million to 1.1 on a really good day. So, that's great. That's really good news. Just love to know what is the best time or what level should I be looking at buying a new investment property or something that I can get my money back on. Fantastic, Jennifer. I'm sort of going to answer this quickly as in regards to the first question being, what interest rate are you on? I'm going to assume it's around the competitive, or say around 6% at the moment on your owner occupied, roughly harboring about $24,000 in interest, and your repayment somewhere around the 30-odd thousand. When is the best time to buy an investment? It's very, very hard to determine in any language. Obviously, when looking at something like this, Jennifer, would want to have a look at what's going on in your life. So for instance, age, if it's something that you'd want to buy in your superannuation, is it something that you could potentially buy in your own name or set it up? Do you want to buy more in the future as a company or something to that degree, right? So there's so many moving parts to this question, but realistically, I'll cut it short in simply saying the best time to buy an investment property is when you're ready. When are you ready? Well, basically a lot of property investors say that they're ready to go bang, 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 and that's awesome. What I'd have to sort of first find out, and the best thing to do is to sort of speak to your broker about living expenses, your current assets and liabilities, so what you actually own in regards to property, car loans, if you've got a car, could be cash, savings, jewelry, all that sort of stuff, right? Assets, shares, Bitcoin, and what are the liabilities? Are there any personal loans, stuff like that? When it comes to buying all that, another investment property, so when it comes to buying an investment property, having a look at the assets and liabilities in your profile is probably the best first way to determine, am I ready? So for instance, if you've got a couple personal loans or car loans that are lying around and they're sort of restricting you with your repayments on your home loan, I'd have a look at maybe consolidating those personal loans if it's not a good debt. So if it's something that's not obviously good for gearing your tax or claiming back on your tax and you just really should be getting out of it, credit cards, things like that, have a good look at your liabilities and have a look what is affecting potential repayments or optimizing your repayments with your current home loan. Are you going to buy an investment property? Are you going to stay in the owner-occupied one, for instance? Or are you going to buy an investment property, or are you going to buy an investment property that's going to be rented out for the next 20, 30 years? Or are you actually going to rent it out for a year and then move in it after you renovate it or something to that degree, right? So there's a lot of different strategies. Now, perfect solution in any regard, and the best way to approach this is in your mind frame to optimize every potential that you have. So when you tend to find out exactly why you want an investment property, you then will sort of work out, okay, so if I've got the potential to borrow X amount on top of my home loan, and you've worked out all your liabilities and assets and stuff, and you go back and you go, how much can I borrow? So obviously speak to your broker or your bank and then find out exactly your borrowing capacity. Work backwards from that, right? So for instance, if you've consolidated debt or want to consolidate debt, have a look and speak to your broker about where they can consolidate some of the debt in the investment property or in the owner-occupied property. You want to have a also look, where are the savings coming for the investment property? So if it's the savings are coming from your owner-occupied, you definitely want to make sure that if you can, or you've got the equity, and in this case you do, the equity, basically if you use your figures of $1 million property or 1.1, if you determine up to 80%, so you avoid lender's mortgage insurance, your current debt is at 400. Basically you've got about 400,000 there of usable equity, and it's a lot of the people get caught out with this and they'll say, well, isn't it $1 million minus the 400, which is 600? And it's, well, usable equity in a bank size is the 80% of the value, being $1 million in this case, minus the current debt, that's 400. Do you have to use all their savings? A lot of investors these days like to use minimal amount, simply because they can actually claim it back with their income, right, on expenses when it comes to the investment properties. So once again, those sort of figures, when you're trying to refine it down to a respectable art, so it makes sure that it makes financial sense to you, make sure that the broker checks everything and it makes perfect sense. When is the right time? Going back to the question, when is the right time? Once again, it's up to you. It really is. If the numbers suit you, the expenses suit you, there are no other things, because you know yourself best. No other professional can sort of help in that regime in regards to who you are inside and knowing your ability, as in repayments. How do you feel? Are you confident about it? If you feel that your confidence isn't quite there, it could be that a lack of knowledge. So really resource that. Once I say, I always say it, get more knowledge around what it is that you're not confident about. It doesn't mean you got to be really confident or overconfident. That could be dangerous, but knowing the information and understanding it, aligning it to within your way of life and making sure that it doesn't throw you out. Worst thing is buying an investment property. Are you ready? You're not ready. You're not sure, and it's creating anxiety. Look, it's always going to maybe create a small amount of anxiety, especially being your first investment property. Even if it's your first property, it's only expected, guys. You've never bought a property and this is a massive thing, right? So you've saved all this money, you've put all your due diligence and hard sweat of money to save for the deposit, and this is a big call. So I get it. Yes, more information is better, learning is better, understanding why something happens. Just don't learn about it, understand why. I always find that will stick into your brain a lot further, as in why do the banks want 20%? Obviously to minimize risk. Why, if I was to provide 30% deposit or 40% deposit, does that minimize the amount of interest rate? With some banks it does. So all these small little information pieces are going to help you determine whether you're ready. And like I said, there's always a small amount of anxiety. So Jennifer, great that you're thinking about it. When is the right time? Do your research for yourself. If you think it's affordable and all the numbers stack up, make sure that you run it past your accountant or broker, and both, or everyone that knows you, and sort of sit down with them, really understand the way it works, and then pounce if it looks good. It's a massive thing, but it's a great thing. And when you do get your first investment property, guess what? It probably becomes contagious, is what most of all my clients do become, and they become wanting to do more, because the first one is always the hardest, and like anything, once you get used to it, you start to implement it within your everyday life, and you get used to repayments, you start to get used to doing your tax returns and implementing certain deductions because it's an investment property, not just your owner occupied. Mate, it becomes really, really, really contagious. Look, to a point, of course, you don't want to overdo it, but if you do it in stride, and if you love property and you love the fact that you're buying property and it's creating investment and capital return, and it's all there for your retirement down the track, God bless, it's fantastic. It's reassuring. It gives you confidence as in a personality, knowing that you're working hard towards purpose, right? And purpose is what I always say is the most important thing. So let's move on to the second question by David. David's put down that he's looking at buying his first property, but he's saved up to $300,000. Gee whiz, Dave, that's fantastic. I am 34 years old and I have been working all my life in order to save this amount of money, and I would like to buy something, but I also would not know whether or not I am going to live in it or if I am going to rent it. Okay, so rent investor, Dave, fantastic, great approach these days. Basically, rent investor is someone that wants to optimize on their income, as in tax returns. So if he's still renting and staying in a rental property, he's able to then buy his first property, which will be an investment property, and he will rent that out. So if he's paying, as an example, let me see if David, have you put down your rental income? Let me have a look. He pay $510 per week and would want to rent something out for around about the same. So, okay, so thank you for the information, David. So basically he's trying to pay his rent via the rent that he receives from the investment property. Any other expenses such as interest or costs with that investment property, he will actually be able to use as a tax deductibility, hasn't he? So great way of going about it these days, especially with the way property prices have been going up and up and up. The fact that you've got a fantastic deposit means that the loan amount in this fact would probably be somewhat circa around the 200 to 300 odd thousand. Really good. It just means that it's less interest. Great way of going about it, David. Kudos on the savings. Yes, rent investing is good. It does have its perks. Once again, if you go to your accountant or your broker, ask them about the advantages of that. Fantastic. I actually got quite a number of clients out there that really had not learned or known about rent investing. I mean, it was always in their mind and thought, well, what a better way to do it, but we really want our own home to be able to put a nail in the wall or whatever it might be, or make some changes, depending if you're really home proud, right? So I find that a lot of my clients, if they're really house proud in regards to being able to renovate themselves or things like that, work in the garden and make it their own because it's theirs and not just paying off someone else's mortgage or improving their home for whatever reason, most of the time they get a mortgage and they live in it. Not to say that renters aren't home proud, it just means that they basically somewhat have to ask for permission before they do any works, or any works for that matter, in that house or garden or anything like that. So sometimes in a mind frame thing, people that own their own home somewhat more content if they're wanting to do little hobbies around the house, put up shelves, whatever it might be, right? You get the drift. So if that's not an important factor in your life and you think, well, I can do this and optimize, perfect. Or if you're traveling, if you're sort of a person that can work from home or travel around and work from anywhere within the States, anywhere, and you could make income wherever you go, and it's not necessary that you've got to be at home or look after the garden or whatever. Renters got to look after the garden, but you get the drift, right? So if you're not really into your house or anything and just wanted to make money, rent investing is probably going to be more for you if that's the case, right? That way, even if, let's say, for instance, something happens in the future and you want to live in your property, you can always live in the property down the track, right? And appropriate it that way. So awesome way. Just remember that if you are rent investing, the investment property will encumber a little bit higher interest rate in today's interest rates with most banks, rather than an owner occupied. If it's your first home, like it is, certain things as government grants and won't be applicable in this instance, simply because the government provide these grants and stamp duty savings in this instance to first home buyers to create incentive into buying property, right? And if it's an investment, you unfortunately won't receive any of that. And that's in today's governing state laws, right? So awesome stuff. The loan, depending, I'm taking you earn quite a substantial income. So once again, your broker will be able to work that out easy. If, once again, to answer that question, owner occupied or investor, if you love your house and your house proud and want to do renovations or fix it up or put a bit of sweat equity into it, increase the value of it through minor works that you might do on the weekend or at night when you get home, whatever. Once again, a lot of clients that do that, and they make awesome income. So what they basically do is they buy a house to rent out eventually, but they'll move in it for the first 6 to 12 months. They'll renovate it when they get home from work, so they keep their full-time work, but they actually do renovations when they get home. Awesome stuff. Build the equity up in their property because it's their owner-occupied in most states in Australia. Owner-occupied, when you go to sell it, any capital gains, well, there is no capital gains tax to pay because you've been living in it, and you move to the next and next. They often used to relay that to climbing the property ladder. So what a lot of my clients have done in the past and created a lot of great wealth, gee whiz, they would have bought for something as their first property at roughly 200,000-300,000 back in the day, done a lot of works on it as in renovations, and as the capital value of their property increases, they're living in it, so they're able to live in it and eat dinner and breakfast and go to work, come home, improve the home on the weekend or whatever it is, fix it up, improve it, bit of sweat equity, then make about 200,000-300,000 on it, move to the next one, and eventually they become up to $2-3 million homes. I've actually seen that, and they do it quite well. Obviously utilising many benefits on tax savings and stuff like that, and they do a ripper job of it. So that's I hope that answers your question, David. Thank you for sending this one in as in the question. Great. I hope it helps everyone understand a little bit the difference between it. Are there a massive difference? Obviously, it's all individual circumstances. It's going to be good for some people, not so great for others, and vice versa, right? So let's go to question number 3, the final question for the episode, which is from Mary here. She's asking, my husband and I are settling a divorce. Sorry to hear that, Mary. We are actually looking at splitting everything as 50-50. Okay, it's an amicable divorce, yet the property has a rough value of $2 million. I think that's a 2. It's got a 2. Yeah, just okay. The font is very hard to. Okay, yes, it is a $2 million property, and you have a current loan on it of 450 odd thousand. Fantastic. Great way to be as in an amicable divorce. Always the most stressful time is a divorce. But obviously you guys have sort of worked everything out, and I would always make sure that everything is verified on legal documentation before proceeding anything with the finance. So for instance, here you're looking at maybe selling the property, or are you, one thing, Mary, would be to ask, is someone actually going to pay the other person's debt out? So obviously the debt of 450,000 drawn 50-50 is obviously going to require the other person to take on the debt and pay that debt out, encumber the debt, and also pay the other balance of the property. So if it's $2 million property, basically you've got to pay that 50% of what you owe there, which is, what's that, 1.55, right? So you've got to come up with that balance in order to pay your partner out if you wanted to keep and stay in the property. If it's a simple sale, well, quite simple. Basically, you sell the property for $2 million, you pay the debt, and halve the money from there. Is it a problem when it comes to divorce settlement? Now, great question. Get this, do quite a bit of divorces, unfortunately. It's not an environment that is sometimes really good, but unfortunately it's a need that I have to do. But make sure that the court orders are stamped, signed by all parties, including all the mediators, solicitors, whatever it is. All your documentation is up to date. Make sure that's all up to date. And going back to your question, Mary, in regards to is it better to buy and does it affect my credit score? Yes, sometimes, but sometimes it is okay. Some banks, depending on which product that you're choosing for your next purchase, or if you need to pay your partner out, will ask certain questions, which obviously as a broker, what you've got to do is make sure that you have all the questions for that answered in the application. Sometimes there's a lot of confusion when it comes to divorces and stuff like that. And if the notes are not put into place correctly or in a logical sense, and there's ways of doing things, and obviously your solicitor can help your broker and your broker can help your solicitor mitigate those sort of notes in the application. If it's affecting your credit file and has done certain damage to your credit profile, obviously it's up to the broker to determine. That's also going to be something that when you place it, if you're going to do a pre-approval for a potential purchase or drawing funds out of your existing property to pay your partner out, you want to make sure that everything that you do is watertight, right? The application, look, I'm the sort of broker that tends to want to do everything correctly the first time. Make sure that when the pre-approval's going in, it's not going to keep going back and forth to the credit assessor in the banks, getting declines and all that. That's the last thing you want. You want to make sure that when you put in the application in, as a well-savvy broker or anything like that, they want to make sure that it's going to be approved. Look, obviously it's up to a broker to make sure that the application is clean and makes a lot of sense and is concise, and it actually means that you can afford the loan that's coming up. A lot of the time in divorce or separation, people just want to buy the house, but without the realization that they haven't done their figures or their living expenses, and they just want to buy it because of, sentimental reasons or what have you, nostalgia. It's not a way to go about it. Take your emotions out of it. Unfortunately, it's a hard time, I understand. So subtract the emotions and make sure that you implement your accountant's hat on or your broker's hat on and do your figures. Make sure that the figures stack up and you can afford this loan. Even if a bank says, yes, you can do it, guys, just don't follow what a bank or broker or accountant says. You look at the numbers, do your research. Don't forget, life's going to change. In separation and divorce, things may get more expensive, things may get cheaper. You've got to be able to make sure that you can afford all this. And yes, it's a turmoil time to be able to be working out minor details, as in what's my grocery going to be and telephone and car, but it all adds up and stacks up to a bigger picture, which is affordability. Affordability is the fundamental part of owning a property. So if you're going to buy your partner out in the divorce, make sure that affordability isn't something that's really squeezing or grabbing you to say, well, I can't afford this, but I just wanted to do it because of whatever, right? You're just sentimental about the property, or you just want to get back at your ex-partner. I don't know, whatever. But make sure affordability, take the emotion out of it. Numbers have to stack up. Then when you're happy and you think you can afford it and you've done all your due diligence, then work it out with your broker to make sure that the pre-approval makes sense. Then go through the pre-approval, make sure the numbers all stack up. Once again, forecast it into your life. So if the repayments are going to go from $3.5 a month to $4,000 a month because of a particular product, because you weren't able to get the finance, make sure that extra $500 a month isn't going to hurt you in your living expenses. It may mean that you have to work harder, longer hours at work, right? So it's just things like that. And life may get tougher, but it may not. It may get easier. And I've seen in most instances, if you do your sums right, and especially with your broker, you do your sums right, God bless, it becomes the best thing in life. It's a a relief, because affordability is what really pins us against the wall in anxiety, as far as I don't know the unknown, because all of a sudden I'm going from a couple down to a single, or whatever it might be, or a new relationship, and God knows what these repayments are. And if that's the case, don't do anything at all. All right, make sure the separation, all the finance are sorted with the divorce. But make sure when it comes to credit files, as in credit profiles, if they're getting hit around, and it could be Part 9 bankruptcies, Part 10s, whatever. It could be liquidation, could be even a divorce, separation in a business, right? Say if you're having to buy your partner out, or whatever it might be. These things, it can get rather complicated with businesses as far as assets and all that type of stuff. But once again, the formula does not change. Affordability is key. Making sure your headspace is key, that you know that you've got all the numbers down pat. Mary, I don't like to hear that you're going through what you are, but unfortunately in this thing is where you really got to step up, and you've really got to start looking after yourself in this instance, to make sure that your future self is going to be okay. Repayments, make sure you can afford. Have a look at your living expenses, have a look at your current liabilities or assets and stuff like that. Simple rules of finance. Always your assets, liabilities, and your repayments of what you can afford, and your living expenses. Break it down weekly if you can. So if your groceries is 200, 250, stick to the 250. Always pressure test your living expenses on the higher end. That way, if they're not as high in realistic life, that you've always made accountability in case there's a shift in interest rate. If the interest rates go up, if they go down, God bless once again. But look, I hope that helps in that. It's never easy, and please reach out if I haven't answered the questions. When it comes to credit file, just on the credit file thing, if it is a bad credit or anything like that, obviously get someone in as credit repairs. Your broker can assist you with this, as in recommending you to some legal help or anything like that. Most of the time, a good broker will always have a good team behind them in relation to solicitors and stuff like that, and ask them for help in this instance. So I hope this episode, with the 3 different circumstances, we had the should I buy a next property with Jennifer. Thank you, Jennifer. I hope that all works out. David, who's thinking about becoming a rent investor, fantastic way of building a lot of equity in property wealth. So good on you, David. And Mary, all the best with everything, the separation. I hope it all works out for both of you. And see you on the next episode. Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening.